Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. The galaxy's cry for help. And humanity's devastating response. The silent invasion. The signal arrived on a Tuesday. Dr. Maya Suarez rubbed her tired eyes as she stared at the anomalous readings on her monitor. For 3 years she'd manned the deep space array in the Atacama Desert, searching for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence. Most days brought nothing but cosmic background radiation and the occasional pulsar. Today was different, she muttered, adjusting her dark K-rimmed glasses. The pattern repeated, a sequence so regular it couldn't be natural, but so complex it couldn't be mistaken for human technology. Her heart raced as she triggered the verification protocols. 3 hours later, the confirmation came through. The signal originated from HD 4307, a star system 42 light-years away with known exoplanets. More disturbingly, the signal wasn't directed at Earth, it was a distress call meant for someone else. Maya's hands trembled as she decoded the message. The translation algorithm struggled, but fragments emerged clearly enough. They consume shadows between stars. Pattern hunters, help us. The transmission ended abruptly, replaced by dead air. Maya immediately contacted the International Space Agency. Within days, every major observatory on Earth reoriented toward HD 4307. What they found, or rather, what they didn't find, chilled them to the bone. Where advanced spectroscopic analysis had previously detected a thriving civilization with industrial atmospheric markers, now there was nothing but barren rock. Something had consumed an entire civilization in less time than it took light to travel to Earth. General Imani Okafor stood before the United Nations Security Council, her usually crisp uniform wrinkled after 3 days without rest. Behind her, a holographic display showed star systems marked in red, indicating confirmed losses in the 6 months since Dr. Suarez's discovery. 17 systems have gone silent, she stated flatly. Whatever these entities are, we're calling them the Shroud. They're methodical, they harvest a world, then move to the next closest developed system. And you're certain they're heading toward us? Asked the French representative. Yes, Okafor replied, displaying a new star chart. Their trajectory is unmistakable. At this pace, they'll reach our outlying colonies within 8 months, Earth within 2 years. A Russian delegate scoffed. This is absurd. We've received no direct evidence. With respect, Dr. Suarez interrupted from her seat, we've intercepted over 300 distress signals. The pattern is always the same, first contact, mass terror, then silence. The Epsilon colony went dark last week, we have footage. The room fell silent as the display shifted to the final transmission from Epsilon. Grainy footage showed colonists running in terror as shadow-like entities flowed through corridors, absorbing everything they touched. They moved with disturbing precision, as if following a predetermined pattern. The last frame showed one colonist staring directly into the camera, eyes wide with terror, as darkness enveloped them. The Shroud appear to feed on predictable responses, Dr. Suarez continued. Every civilization they've encountered has either organized a unified resistance or attempted surrender. Both strategies failed, because they followed patterns the Shroud anticipated. General Okafor stepped forward. Which is why I'm proposing the Unified Defense Initiative, but with a twist. We don't unify our strategy, we diversify it. Commander Renti couldn't decide which was worse, the screaming or the silence that followed. Horizon Station, humanity's furthest outpost in the Kuiper Belt, had been the first to encounter the Shroud directly. Only T's ship, the UES Defiant, had escaped. Stat report, he ordered, voice steadier than his hands. Shroud vessels maintaining pursuit, Commander. They'll overtake us before we reach Mars perimeter, Lieutenant Dawn reported. And our little surprise is armed and ready, sir, but there's no precedent for this working, she added. T smiled grimly. That's precisely the point, Lieutenant. The Defiant had been retrofitted with what General Okafor called chaos engines, weapons designed to be unpredictable, based on Dr. Suarez's theory that the Shroud relied on pattern recognition to anticipate their prey's actions. These engines operated on random quantum fluctuations. "They're accelerating," Dawn said. "Intercept in 3 minutes." On the view screen, 3 obsidian shapes emerged from space's darkness, voids and reality itself, absorbing starlight around them. "All hands, prepare for Chaos Protocol," T announced shipwide. "Remember your training, think unpredictably." This was the strangest order ever given to a military crew. Each member had been selected not just for skill, but for cognitive flexibility. For weeks they trained to make decisions based on instinct and randomness, not standard protocols. "Shroud vessels entering weapons range, engage Chaos engines now," T ordered. The Defiant shuddered as its experimental systems activated. Conventional weapons would have fired in predictable patterns, the Chaos engines instead produced energy waves fluctuating wildly in frequency and intensity, guided by quantum random number generators. The Shroud vessels paused, seemingly confused by the erratic energy signatures. "It's working," Dawn whispered. Then the Shroud adapted, their vessels elongated, stretching like liquid shadow toward the Defiant. "Evasive maneuvers," T ordered, but he knew it was too late. Standard evasion patterns were exactly what the Shroud expected. "Sir," Lieutenant Dolan said, "permission for unconventional action." "Granted," T replied. Without explanation, Dolan locked engines at full power and aimed at the nearest Shroud vessel, not away from danger, but toward it. "Are you insane?" someone shouted, but T understood immediately. "Support Lieutenant Dolan's action. All power to forward shields." The Defiant accelerated toward the Shroud vessel, which hesitated as if confused by prey that attacked rather than fled. Then Dawn activated the Chaos engines at maximum output. The resulting collision of unpredictable energy and the Shroud's form created a cascade effect unlike anything they had seen. The vessel didn't explode, it unraveled, dissolving into random noise. "It worked," Dolan said in disbelief. The other 2 Shroud vessels retreated at speeds beyond human sensors. The Defiant, limping, sent a simple message to General Okafor: "Chaos theory confirmed. Humanity has a chance." On Earth, preparation accelerated. Dr. Suarez's team discovered a crucial detail in intercepted signals. The Shroud communicated using mathematical patterns of stunning complexity, but these patterns contained recursive loops, suggesting they followed programming rather than independent thought. "They're tools, not conquerors," she explained to UDI leadership. "Something else is directing them." Meanwhile, humanity did what it did best: adapt in wildly different ways. Some nations built massive underground shelters, others developed space-based defenses. Private corporations created their own solutions. General Okafor didn't unify these efforts, she coordinated them to be deliberately varied, creating defenses with no central pattern for the Shroud to analyze. The Chaos engines were refined and distributed across Earth's defense fleet. But the real breakthrough came when Dr. Suarez hijacked the Shroud's communication network. If they operated on patterns, she theorized, then introducing noise would disorient them. The plan was simple yet audacious: when the Shroud arrived in force, humanity wouldn't just fight with weapons, but wage cognitive warfare, injecting contradictions and paradoxes into the Shroud's network to break their fundamental patterns. 3 months later, the main Shroud fleet arrived at Mars. Humanity's fractured, chaotic defense awaited them, and for the first time in their existence, the Shroud knew uncertainty. Earth ships moved in deliberately erratic formations, no 2 vessels followed the same strategy. Some charged directly at Shroud vessels, others executed maneuvers so random they seemed to malfunction. From her command center beneath Olympus Mons, General Okafor watched the chaos unfold. "Status report," she said. Colonel Rise looked up. 43% of Shroud vessels are showing signs of disruption, they can't predict our movements. The hastily assembled Martian defense system wasn't designed to win, only to confuse. Each weapon platform operated with different targeting algorithms, some fired continuously, others at random intervals. The battlefield had no discernible pattern. On her private channel, Okafor contacted Dr. Suarez. "It's working, but not well enough. They're adapting." Maya's holographic image flickered with worry. "We need more time. I've almost isolated their command frequency. I'll give you what I can." Okafor terminated the connection. She turned to her staff. "Implement Protocol Hydra." Protocol Hydra was possibly the strangest military strategy ever devised, 5 completely contradictory battle plans executed simultaneously. Some ships would retreat, others would advance. Some would shut down and drift, others would self-destruct in calculated patterns. As orders went out, the battlefield descended into apparent madness. Human ships even appeared to fight each other. The Shroud hesitated. For creatures that had conquered countless civilizations by predicting responses, humanity's actions made no logical sense. Their vessels slowed, energy patterns fluctuating as if recalculating. Back on Earth, Dr. Suarez watched sensor feeds. "They're confused, now's our chance," she initiated the signal intrusion. Months of work had gone into an algorithm that mimicked the Shroud's communication patterns, subtly introducing logical paradoxes, statements both true and false, commands that contradicted themselves. She hit transmit. The signal propagated through space toward the Shroud fleet. The effect was immediate, several vessels began moving erratically, perfect formations dissolved. Some collided, others stopped, hanging motionless in space. "It's working," an assistant exclaimed, but Maya's expression remained grim. She pointed to larger vessels at the rear. "They're changing their structures, shifting into new configurations. They're adapting, and faster than we anticipated." Commander Layla Patil of the UES Prometheus watched in horror as the Shroud counterattacked. Their vessels sprouted appendages generating interference fields, jamming Dr. Suarez's signal. Her communications officer reported the jamming, but Patil wasn't surprised. She was one of the UDI's most unconventional thinkers. "Initiate Operation Lighthouse," she ordered. The Prometheus's main cannon, dormant until now, powered up, but instead of destructive energy, it projected coherent light beams in precise, mathematically perfect patterns, Fibonacci sequences, golden ratios, perfect symmetry, the exact opposite of chaos. "Sir, what are we doing?" her weapons officer asked. "Fighting darkness with light," Patil replied. The beam struck the nearest Shroud vessel, bathing it in perfect order. Nothing happened for a moment, then the vessel began to vibrate, form distorting as if struggling to process the information. "It's working," Patil said quietly. "Transmit the patterns to all Earth vessels." Across the battlefield, human ships projected similar light patterns at the Shroud. Some vessels destabilized, others retreated toward the outer solar system. The battle wasn't won, but for the first time, the Shroud withdrew. In her lab on Earth, Maya received Mars telemetry with mixed emotions. They'd forced a retreat, but the Shroud would return, adapted anew. "We need to understand what they truly are," she told her team. The answer came from junior researcher Khaled, who had noticed something odd in spectroscopic analyses of Shroud vessels during battle. "Dr. Suarez, look at these readings," he said, displaying a complex molecular breakdown. "The Shroud aren't just absorbing energy, they're absorbing consciousness." Maya stared at the data. "They're feeding on our thoughts, specifically our predictable thoughts." Further analysis confirmed, the Shroud consumed organized thought itself. Chaotic, unpredictable patterns were indigestible, like poison. But why? Maya wondered. 3 days later, they decoded more intercepted communications. The Shroud weren't natural entities, but weapons created by a species called the Architects to harvest mental energy from predictable civilizations. "They're perfect predators," Maya explained to General Okafor. "But they never anticipated encountering humans. What makes us different?" Okafor asked. "We're contradictory," Maya replied. "Other species developed along predictable lines, their civilizations unified, responses coordinated. Humans, we're chaotic by nature. We fight each other even while fighting a common enemy. We develop thousands of solutions to the same problem. Okafor smiled. So our greatest weakness is our greatest strength. Exactly, Maya nodded. And we can use this to do more than defend ourselves, we can communicate with whoever controls the shroud. 2 weeks later, a new shroud attack targeted Earth directly, but humanity was ready. Shroud vessels emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. Earth's defense fleet responded with the established chaos strategy, moving unpredictably and attacking from random vectors, but that was only a distraction. The real plan centered on the UES Prometheus, now equipped with Maya's latest creation, a device transmitting human consciousness directly into the Shroud network. Commander Patil sat in a control chamber, neural interfaces attached to her temples. This is either brilliant or insane, she muttered. Maybe both, Maya replied over comms. Remember, once connected, show them everything, all the contradictions, the chaos of human thought. Understood, Patil said, initiating neural link. The experience was unlike anything she'd imagined. Her consciousness expanded beyond her body, flowing through the transmission beam into the nearest shroud vessel. She felt not one mind, but many, perfectly synchronized under the same programming. Then she showed them humanity, memories of childhood wonder and adult cynicism, love and hate coexisting, beliefs that contradicted themselves, art following no pattern. She showed human history, wars and wonders, thousands of religions answering the same questions. Through her, the shroud experienced human unpredictability in its purest form. The effect rippled through their network. Patil felt confusion, then fear, not of humanity itself, but of what humanity represented, freedom from patterns. Behind that fear, she sensed the architects watching through their creations, ancient beings who'd sacrificed their own chaos for perfect order, building the shroud to harvest organized thought. Patil pushed deeper, establishing direct contact with these controllers. "You fed on predictability for millennia," she projected. "But there's another way." She showed them human cooperation, how chaos and order coexist, how unpredictability breeds innovation. The connection hummed with tension. Then, slowly, she felt something change, not acceptance, but curiosity. Shroud vessels around Earth halted their advance, some began reshaping into organic forms. Patil received a message, not in words, but concepts. "We have consumed order for millennia. We have never encountered such disorder that functions." "That's humanity," Patil replied. "We don't make sense, but we survive because we don't make sense." Another pause. "We will learn." The transition wasn't immediate or complete. Some vessels retreated, guided by architects unwilling to abandon programming, others remained, adapting to interact without consuming. 3 months after Earth's battle, Maya stood on the observation deck of the new Joint Human-Architect Research Station orbiting Jupiter. Beside her was a being once part of the Shroud, now individualized and calling itself Nexus. "Your species confuses me," Nexus admitted, its voice a harmonious blend of tones. "We wouldn't be human if we all did the same thing," Maya laughed. "The architects believed uniformity led to perfection," Nexus said. "For millions of years, they eliminated chaos from their civilization, creating us to harvest organized thought. But now, they've learned from you, disorder has benefits we never considered, creativity, innovation, change." Below, Earth rotated, billions living in endless variety. Some celebrated the new alliance, others protested. Governments launched competing exploration programs with their new allies, corporations developed products blending architect technology with human unpredictability. "There are other harvesters out there," Nexus warned. "Other weapons the architects deployed before they encountered you, and threats even the architects fear. Then we'll face them together," Maya said confidently. "And we'll probably disagree about how to do it the entire time." Nexus produced a sound Maya recognized as laughter. "Dr. Suarez, that is precisely why the galaxy needs humanity. You bring chaos to order and make both stronger." As they watched the stars together, a new signal arrived from deep space, a civilization's cry for help. This time, Earth would answer not with perfect unity, but with perfect humanity, contradictory, chaotic, and completely unpredictable. In a universe of patterns, nothing was more powerful than that dot below them. The Joint Human Architect Research Station orbited Jupiter in silent vigil. Inside, Dr. Maya Suarez reviewed the latest incoming data. Nexus stood beside her, its form pulsing softly with curious light. Another signal, Nexus said, voice resonant. Maya's fingers danced across the console. It's faint, but definitely not from the Shroud network. The station's sensors triangulated the transmission, a nearby star cluster, 50 light-years beyond HD 4307. The pattern was different, irregular, almost musical. Maya enlarged the waveform on the holoscreen. This is art, she whispered. A civilization reaching out in their own voice. General Okafor arrived via secure comm. What have you found, Doctor? Maya toggled through spectroscopic readings. They're alive, and they're sending a message, an invitation, perhaps. It's time we answered. Minutes later, aboard the UES Prometheus, Commander Patil prepared her crew for a new mission. The Prometheus, refitted with Chaos engines and Neuralink amplifiers, would pilot the first human architect envoy. On the bridge, officers checked randomization protocols and synchronized their unpredictable maneuvers. Coordinates set, Lieutenant Dawn reported. We'll arrive in this system in 74 hours. Patil nodded. Maintain Chaos signature and be ready for anything. We're ambassadors now, not conquerors. As the Prometheus slipped into hyperspace, Nexus transmitted its own newfound understanding to Maya. The architects feared chaos, believing it cruel. Through you, they discover mercy in unpredictability. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Mercy and creativity, two gifts only chaos can bring. 3 days later, the Prometheus emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the distant cluster. Shimmering nebulae painted the darkness in greens and purples. Ahead, a lone vessel, organic in shape and covered in bioluminescent filaments, drifted. Visual on target, the sensor officer said. It's unlike any ship we've seen. Patil leaned forward. Open a channel. The holographic display flickered, revealing a tall being with translucent skin that glowed from within. Its eyes were pools of shifting color. It raised an arm in greeting. We are the Harmony, it conveyed through thought pattern projection. We heard your chaos, and found hope. Over the next hours, the humans, architects, and Harmony exchanged visions, memories, and strange poems woven into quantum strings. Through this shared unpredictability, they discovered a new language, one born of diversity. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted as news spread. Humanity had not only survived the silent invasion, but had reached out, united with former foes and distant strangers. For the first time, chaos and order walked together among the stars. And in the quiet depths of space, where shadows once loomed, a new melody began, an ever-evolving symphony of voices, each unpredictable, each essential, each powerful beyond measure. Beyond the nebula's glow, the Prometheus and its allied vessels formed a loose constellation, each ship's engines flickering with unique Chaos engine signatures. Commander Patil watched the star charts as the Harmony vessel, now christened the Melodia, glided beside them, its bioluminescent filaments weaving patterns in space like living music. Our sensors detect residual architect constructs in this sector, Lieutenant Dawn reported. Ancient outposts, long abandoned, but they're still broadcasting weak signals. Patil frowned. Archaeological interest or buried threat? Both, sir, the Harmony envoy projected into her mind. The architects seeded these waypoints to guide their Shroud creations. Some contained control nodes, others housed archival records of their original civilization. Dr. Suarez joined the comm link, her holographic form shimmering on the bridge's view screen. If we can access those archives, we might learn the root code of Shroud programming, and the key to permanently severing their harvest. Patil tapped her gauntlet. All hands, prepare an away team. Dawn, you and I will lead. Suarez, you'll accompany us to the first outpost. Moments later, in the airlock's muted hiss, the away team donned adaptive suits designed to harmonize human biofields with harmony neural patterns. Nexus accompanied them, its newly individualized consciousness eager to explore its creator's legacy. They crossed the gangway into the outpost's ghostly atrium. Walls of crystalline alloy pulsed with faint light, etched in glyphs neither wholly human nor architect. At the center, a hovering orb of streaming code, the shard of a control node, drifted like a captive star. This is it, Suarez whispered, heart pounding. The core algorithm. As she extended her neural interface, Nexus laid a translucent hand on the console. Together, it intoned. Data streams intertwined, human intuition, architect logic, and harmony resonance, pouring into Suarez's mind as she unraveled centuries-old encryption. Outside, distant thunder of engines warned that other shroud fragments had detected the breach. Patil rallied her team. We have one chance, override the node now. Suarez's voice came through the link, strained but triumphant. I'm in, diverging the feedback to sever the shroud's hive-mind connection. The orb shattered in a burst of opalescent light. Across space, distant shroud vessels convulsed as if wrenched from a shared dream. The outpost trembled, then fell silent. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Patil exhaled. We did it. But Nexus's tone was cautious. Only here. Many nodes remain. Suarez, still radiant from the mental strain, smiled. Then we'll keep going. One unpredictable step at a time.